Today on Locked On Red Wings, the Detroit Lions clinched their second straight playoff berth, and oh yeah, the Red Wings lost their fourth straight game too.
You're Locked On Red Wings, your daily podcast on the Detroit Red Wings, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Red Wings podcast. We are your hosts, Brian Fisher and Scotty Bentley. Scotty's host over at Locked On Tigers, as well as a freelance journalist for the Detroit News, while I am a color commentator for Oakland University ACHA D1 men's hockey. And Scotty, it's probably going to be the weirdest episode for people who watch us ever, because we'll be talking about an absolute, just a really a very dry, boring performance by the Detroit Red Wings with giant smiles on our faces because we watched the end of the Lions game and the absolute cojones on Dan Campbell to go for it on fourth down there. Just incredible stuff. So, great way to improve our mood as we prepare to talk about this unfortunate game by the Detroit Red Wings. Before we can talk about that game, though, got to tell you guys, today's sponsor is FanDuel. You can get a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com today to get started. All right, Scotty, real talk. Let's get into the game. If you want to hear Lions recap, go check out Matt Derry at Locked On Lions. Fantastic show. But here in Red Wings land, the Red Wings dropped their fourth straight game, losing a second straight game to an Atlantic Division rival, losing 2-1 in this game against the Ottawa Senators. Felt like it could have been 4-1 for sure. Scotty, I mean, first thought in this hockey game, coming on to this podcast, what are you thinking? What's on top of mind?
You know, I think my first thought after this one was I just felt like deflated because the games lately have actually been close. Like it's a totally different vibe when you have expectations and you want them to turn it around and you know that there's enough talent on this roster to be much better than how they're playing. And all of the games are close versus like, okay, like this team's just really bad and they're going to lose a lot, right? Like we've been there, obviously. We all remember just whatever that was 5-ish years ago now. Like we know what it's like to just be a bad team that goes on losing streaks and loses a lot. And this team should be much better. And it's almost like, okay, like, oh, they're doing some things right. Like in this game, the penalty kill was great against a really good power play. It's a Christmas miracle. Happy December. And like the power play scored, like special teams in general is great. Ville Husso looked pretty solid. Like it wasn't a perfect game. We'll talk about the faults. Yeah. I think the Sens probably still outplayed you from a team-to-team perspective, but like you were in it and you had good things to point to and hang your hat on. And then they just lost by a goal with 40 seconds left. And like the last two games before that were overtime losses. And it's just like, my goodness, man, like it's just very demoralizing, I guess is the word, when all of the losses are very close to wins. Like if you flip some of these close losses, you're talking about a whole different season, which you can't do, and they can't finish the job, which is a huge issue. But it's really demoralizing to be that close and have it be right there and fall short over and over and over and over again.
Yeah, 8 of their last 9 games, Scotty, have been decided by 1 goal.
Yeah, that's an absurd stat.
The only exception to that was their 4-2 win against the New York Islanders at LCA. In Long Island, rather. Last week to complete that season sweep of the Islanders. This team and that was a comeback win too. That was the game where the Islanders played their classic bend don't break, something the Red Wings do when they have a lead in the third period. That was when the Islanders played their classic bend don't break, and they just gave up a bunch of goals in the third. My first thought watching this game was like, man, this team is damned if they do and damned if they don't. You look at this game, right? Penalty kill, 5 for 5. Best penalty kill performance we've seen all season against the league's third best power play, at least coming into the game. And their offense no-shows, and they lose. The game before that, they allow a penalty kill goal, and the offense doesn't do a lot. They can't score more than 2 goals. Game before that, they score 4 goals in the 2 games prior to that, but then the penalty kill gives up 2 and 3 goals respectively to the Canucks and the Devils. And it's a 2-1 victory in overtime against the Calgary Flames. Like, if the penalty kill does enough to stop goals from happening, they can't score. If they're scoring goals, the penalty kill falls apart. Like, it's either offense or defense. They have to choose one or the other, but they can't get both at the same time. But they can get neither at the same time. That's happened. Like, it's just very, like you said, demoralizing is the best word. When one facet of the game can go so well, and then a gut punch right at the end, and you don't even get a point out of it. It's just... Gosh, it sucks right now. It just sucks right now, and the Red Wings look like they're sitting on their hands. They're not making any decisions at coaching. I can understand and rationalize why they're not. Doesn't mean I necessarily agree with it, but I hope for a change soon, but I am also realistic and of the opinion that a change isn't going to make this team a playoff contender suddenly. It might make them play better, but it's not going to make them a playoff contender out of nowhere because they still have a huge issues with roster construction. And that's primarily, I don't know if primarily is the right word, but it's a big reason why they struggle. It's not just coaching. Coaching is a problem, but a new coach isn't going to fix this roster. So it might get better play out of some of these guys, and maybe that'll swing some of these one-goal games into wins, and maybe you're 500 instead of 2 games under 500. But I don't know, man. I don't know. It's demoralizing. You hit the nail on the head when you said that. Should have just ended it there. Demoralizing. Same time, same place. It's your team. No, Scotty, difference makers in this hockey game. There's an obvious one. Why don't you go ahead and just lay it out there for the people?
Yeah, well, I mean, honestly, I'll let you talk Sens unless you have a different one. I'll let you talk about him. I mean, that's a fairly fair layup there, but like honestly, from the Wings perspective, like I kind of even want to just reiterate special teams again. Like again, you got outshot comfortably, and the ice was tilted at the beginning and a little bit there in the third period, the Sens way, and you probably got outplayed. And the only reason this was even a close game is because the penalty kill did really well, which I don't think we've said at all this season. And you scored on the power play. And like the special teams single-handedly kept you in this game. And then Ville Husso was really solid as well. I'm sure we'll talk about him. I thought he had a pretty good showing again. But, you know, this is a game that was on the table to win. You did lose in regulation, so nobody cares. And yet you probably should have lost by more in regulation. Like there's so many different ways and like angles to view it. It's really just a big gut punch. But I think, you know, my difference maker, because it to me, it's the reason why that this was even a demoralizing loss and not just a complete, you know, I don't know if I want to say blowout, but a comfortable loss, was because the special teams showed up.
Yeah, no, I think you're spot on with that analysis as well. The penalty kill went 5 for 5, and it's not that they got lucky. Like, they earned those kills. Yeah. They played incredibly well in the penalty kill, and I'm not smart enough to be able to like pick out the fine-tuned differences as to why today worked and other days haven't worked. If I were to take a gander, like it looked like they were playing a little bit more aggressive on the penalty kill. They weren't sitting back as much. They were being a little bit more active. Yeah, so I mean, I think that that played a role in it being so close, considering they took 5 penalties, and I intend to have a conversation about reffing. Not that I think reffing decided this hockey game, but some of the calls and non-calls were
for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And so for sure that was a difference maker, but the obvious difference maker in this game, the layup for sure, is Josh Norris scoring 2 goals, right? I mean, the guy scored the only 2 goals for the Ottawa Senators in this hockey game. One was on a rebound, I think his own rebound in the first period, and then 41 seconds left, he comes flying to the neutral zone and just fires one, blocker side high on Ville Husso to give the Ottawa Senators the lead and ultimately the win. So he's the absolute layup. I don't really have much else to say. Like, he was a difference maker in the very literal sense of the definition.
I would agree with that.
So with that being said, we're going to head to a quick break. When we return, we'll talk about notable performers, so stay tuned to Locked On Red Wings. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel. America's number one sports book. Because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, America's number one sportsbook. Segment 2, Locked On Red Wings podcast. All right, Scotty, notable performers. Is there anywhere in particular you want to lead off?
I mean, I guess I'll just reiterate Ville Husso again. I really thought he had a really solid game, and I would expect him, assuming that Talbot and Lyons' status doesn't change, I would anticipate he gets the nod again. When do we play again? Saturday? Yeah. So we'll see. We'll preview that game a little bit more at the end of the show, obviously, but I think they're probably going to keep riding the hot hand there because he looked pretty solid and certainly is not the reason they lost.
Yeah, he had, 938 save percentage in this game, made 30 saves. I think his goal saved above expected was like .25. I think that took a huge hit on that goal with 41 seconds left. You know what? This is as good as time as any. I kind of do want to pause and address that final goal against because I'm seeing a lot of blame on social media on Moritz Seider for that final goal against, and I don't quite understand why everyone's pointing the finger at him in particular. I'm not trying to say he's absolved of guilt, but there's a lot of guilt to go around on that final play. Lucas Raymond breaks across the blue line, and instead of burning the guy wide on the wing, he decides to try to cut to the middle. He quickly has his lane cut off and tries to just chip the puck ahead to Alex DeBrincat. Alex DeBrincat read the play differently, so their miscommunication. Alex DeBrincat cuts to the middle, and that puck goes to no one along the boards because Raymond thought DeBrincat was going to stretch straight down the boards. So they turn the puck over at the blue line, and so then they come flying through the neutral zone, and Simon Edvinsson bites in the neutral zone and poke checks and misses at picking off the pass, leaving a one-on-one with Simon Edvinsson or Moritz Seider and Josh Norris. Now, Moritz Seider's biggest sin on that play is just mistiming the poke check. And I understand, like, Moritz Seider is one of the highest paid players on this hockey team, second only behind Dylan Larkin. So I understand that's going to always put him underneath the magnifying glass. And he didn't have a great game. Neither did Simon Edvinsson. Like, this was a game where your top pair and your top forward line.
We're both watching on the first goal.
Yeah, this was a game where both of those, the top line and the top defensive pair, actually looked pretty bad. And you're going to see that top line get shaken up. You actually saw it get shaken up at the end of the second period there, or the end of the third period, rather. But Moritz Seider's biggest sin on that goal was just mistiming the poke check. Because in a one-on-one situation, he played that well. He forced a shot, and Ville Husso just let it go by him. And Ville Husso shares some of the blame on that too, because it wasn't necessarily a screen. Moritz Seider, at least from the replay I could see, and I could be wrong, I might be misremembering it, but Moritz Seider looked like he was off to the side slightly, giving Ville Husso a clear lane at the puck. Now, correct me if I'm wrong on that, listeners. Go watch the replay and double check me on that. But like, every single player on the ice contributed to that goal against with 41 seconds left. So the weird blame that I'm seeing all on Moritz Seider is weird because he was the final guy back on a play that should never have developed in the first place. So I wanted to address that really quick because I'm very defensive about Moritz Seider and Simon Edvinsson because they're literally the only defensive pair that knows how to play. And there's like data came out today that said, it was Hockey Stat Cards data that said so far this season, Moritz Seider's tied for first in defensive impact, and Simon Edvinsson is ninth in defensive impact across the season so far. So it's like, sometimes I see these comments, and I shouldn't read too much in the comments, but when people blame Moritz Seider, I just don't get it. I'm like, this is like literally, he and Edvinsson are literally the only guys on the team who are given a significant role and actually can play that role.
Yeah, I think
your issues come deeper.
Right. I think contract has something to do with that just because of always. But I think I agree with you that this is if you were to make a list, if we were to sit down and just take an episode and make a list ranking who is to blame, or like the biggest reasons why the Red Wings season has gone the way it has, Moritz Seider would be close to dead last on that list.
Yeah.
Him, Raymond, and Larkin would be, in the bottom three there. And I think that's something to keep in perspective for sure. I agree.
Yeah, for sure. Sorry, I got off topic there a little bit. That started off because we were talking about Husso, and I thought Husso overall played really well. Again, 9.38 save percentage. He gave the team an opportunity to win. I didn't love that final goal, a shot from distance that beat him high blocker's side. But, I mean, it's hard to put the blame on Ville Husso when he had to make 30 saves and the team could only score one goal for him. So I thought he played pretty well overall.
And was in the defensive zone for a lot.
Most of that game.
Yeah.
Notable performers outside that. This is Patrick Kane's first game back, Scotty.
Mm-hmm.
I thought overall he had a pretty solid game. He's not providing a lot of offense right now. I'm not sure if it's just like a line thing, like if Comfort just isn't the center for him, or what. But overall, like, he was one of your team leaders in expected goals for percentages. In fact, one of the few players on the team who actually was above and well above 50% in this game. He was fourth on the team in expected goals for percentage at 62%. So he provided definitely more offense than he gave up defensively, but he was also, deployed in those roles too.
Yeah.
So I thought he looked fine. It was nice to see him back on the ice because this team definitely needs Patrick Kane, and they need Patrick Kane to be good too.
Certainly, yes. This team desperately needs not only Patrick Kane out there and good, but they need him out there in the offensive zone to keep possession of the puck, which obviously they did not do very well in this game. But if anybody's going to help with that, it's going to be him a lot of the time.
Right. What else you got for us, dude?
There's a few individual forwards we can talk about. Have we talked Cat yet? Like, obviously that was the goal scorer for the Wings on the power play. It's just nice to see him continue scoring goals. Like, last year was so hot and cold, and it was so, goals in bunches that it's nice to. There has been a legitimate amount of consistency. Like, he's been scoring, once every few games, pretty much all season, and so to have that continue, I think, is just nice at a minimum. Obviously, you mentioned a couple of defensive miscues, but I don't think anybody is absolved from that in this game, so I'm not going to pin it on him specifically. No,
absolutely not. Yeah, he's been less streaky. He'll score a goal, then go like 2 or 3 games without a goal, and then he'll score another goal. So I mean, he's on a 30 plus goal pace right now.
Yeah.
So which is what we want out of Alex DeBrincat. He tends to score a lot in the power play. He tends to score right from that spot he did in this game. I think the most exciting part of that goal was who it was against. They were booing Alex DeBrincat all night long. So for him to be the one to score that goal and at least at the time tie the game back up was a little sweet, and especially because Tarasenko assisted on that as well. Now, obviously, there's no sour grapes about Tarasenko leaving, but it is another former Senator from last season. And remember, they signed Tarasenko to be the Alex DeBrincat replacement/upgrade. And so now both those guys have left Ottawa and are on the Detroit Red Wings, and they contributed to that goal for the Red Wings. Comfer also got the assist. Comfer made actually a really, really nice play on that too. So shout out to him. I know he's been struggling a lot offensively, and I want Comfer to get going. So I like Comfer a lot. We haven't really talked about Comfer's struggles this season. He's definitely not producing offensively, but he was a nice ad last year. He was playing really well, playing up to that contract. This year he's been struggling. So I'm rooting for Comfer. I root for all these Red Wings to succeed, but Comfer especially, I thought that should have been a little nice morale booster for him.
Agreed.
So, I already kind of mentioned it, but the top line and the top pair did not look great in this game. Top pair and top line got shelled. Expected for against. I'm going to read these off individually for you. Moritz Seider dead last at 21%. Lucas Raymond dead last at 25%. Dylan Larkin third to last, 25%. Rasmussen at 28%, and Edvinsson is at 20 or 31. So not a great performance from the Red Wings' best players, and I think it just goes to show how badly you need those guys to perform if you want to have a chance to win hockey games, because when they don't produce, you don't really produce at all.
Well, yeah, and that's been the struggle with this team. It's like all the pressure is on the best players, and then even on the nights where they all do play well, they can still lose. Like, that's not a recipe for success. So,
You want to know what your best line was?
do I?
Yeah,
I
that's not
do.
gonna come as a surprise. Yeah, it was Marco Kasper's line. Had an expected goals for percentage as a line, 7 minutes and 58 seconds of ice time at 5-on-5. They had an expected goals for percentage of 92%. They were really good all night long. All night long. And Marco Kasper, dude, Marco Kasper had 5 hits in this game. I love that kid.
Dog.
I cannot wait for the production to start coming because he is just going to do everything on both sides of the ice. Like, he had a goal robbed from him a couple nights ago, but he's been so good for the Detroit Red Wings. I love Marco Kasper. Berggren's been fun too. Tarasenko, I think, is finally fit. We talked about it yesterday. They found a groove on that third line. But Kasper, man. He also was, third on the team in expected goals for percentage in this game too? Yeah, third at 62%, so... yeah. I love Marco Kasper. I like that third line.
He's good, man. And I mean, we've retreaded those tires a lot. Obviously, he's been a bright spot this season. And once the point production upticks even more, I mean, you're going to see a pretty darn valuable player if you don't already.
Absolutely. Scotty, let's go to a quick break. When we return, we'll finish up our conversation about this game. We'll talk about Dylan Larkin, Axel Sandin-Pellikka, and a very brief preview of the Colorado Avalanche on Saturday. So stay tuned to Locked On Red Wings. Segment 3, Locked On Red Wings podcast. All right, Scotty, the last thing I want to talk about with this game in particular is just the officiating. It is very, and I want to make this very abundantly clear. I am not blaming the officiating for the loss. I think there's very rare exceptions. It does happen, but with very few exceptions, I think it's kind of lazy to blame officiating for a team's losses.
I completely agree with you.
But it was really bizarre. And two plays in particular I thought were really soft. One was the holding penalty on Jonathan Berggren behind the net, which conveniently mirrored the non-call against DeBrincat. And I know when I came on the podcast a couple days ago, I was like, that wasn't a penalty. Now I'm a lot more like in the middle on it. I've seen other replays of it since then where it shows how Pastrnak forced Alex DeBrincat to fall behind the net, and DeBrincat didn't grab onto the stick until he was already falling. Pastrnak forced him to lose that edge. But I'm not rehashing that argument. But in this game, Jonathan Berggren had a very similar play, and they quickly called him for a hold. Then later on in the period, Marco Kasper's in a foot race back into the defensive zone. He wins the foot race by winning positioning. So part of winning positioning is, kind of sticking your arm out and fighting for it and battling for it. Well, and I can't remember who he was battling with at the time. Was it Norris again? Yeah, Norris.
I think it was.
Which would add to his difference maker, because what a way to get...
He chicken winged him and just grabbed his arm.
He locked down Marco Kasper's arm, actually holding Marco Kasper. Marco Kasper got called for a penalty because Josh Norris then, whipped around and fell down.
Right.
They missed penalties, and Jonathan Berggren got a elbow to the head. Most of the time in NHL hockey games, penalties tend to even out. I said after the third straight penalty that went to the Ottawa Senators' way, I'm like, we're gonna get a soft one for the Red Wings here soon, because these things have found a way of evening out. Well, like almost every time the Red Wings had an opportunity, it was immediately met with a penalty back the other way, making it 4-on-4. We had a couple 4-on-4s in this hockey game. It was just incredibly frustrating that they're calling anything and everything on the Detroit Red Wings, but they're not calling these obvious penalties or calling it the wrong way on other obvious plays against them. And again, it's lazy to blame the rest for the loss. Red Wings ultimately killed all 5 of those, but for a team that struggles on offense already, it's even harder to generate offense when you're down for 10 minutes of the game.
Yeah, honestly, I think the frustration from those is just like a when it rains, it pours situation, right? Like, it's just like, this is annoying because everything is going wrong for this team. And we would really like something to swing the Wings' way at some point here, and it just doesn't feel like anything is.
Yeah. It was just really frustrating to watch that inconsistent reffing. It is what it is, though. That's all I got to say about the game. The Red Wings lost their 4th straight. Right now they suck. I don't know if or when they're going to make a coaching change. I endorse it, but again, I don't think it's going to necessarily, it's not going to solve their problems.
Agreed.
All right. Dylan Larkin, literally an hour after we finished recording yesterday's episode, Dylan Larkin was named to the Team USA for the 4-nation face-off. Now, that's kind of on us. We should have checked when those rosters were getting released. I assumed that they wouldn't do all 4 rosters the same day. I thought they would want to milk it a little bit more, but you know what they say about assuming, right, Scotty? So Dylan Larkin was named everyone should do it. He was named to Team USA. Deserved. That's all I got to say about it. Absolutely deserved.
It'll be cool. He'll be, that team, it's crazy, man. Team USA's gotten quite a bit better over the last 10-ish years. Larkin is going to be a bottom 6, player on that team. It'll be interesting. It'll be fun.
Yeah, and then the other news is Axel Sandin Pellikka was named captain of Team Sweden at this year's World Junior Championships. That should excite.
Awesome.
Yeah, absolutely awesome. He, so far this season, has 21 points in 24 games as how old is he? 19 years old, playing in the SHL. He's playing in the highest professional league in Sweden, one of the best professional hockey leagues in the world. I'd probably rank it 4th in the world. I maybe even 3rd. I honestly, honest to God, don't know how high of a quality the KHL is anymore. So, top 5 for sure. And he's 21 points in 24 games as a 19-year-old. He's been incredible with them. Completely deserved as well. And what an exciting player he has been for the Detroit Red Wings.
Absolutely, man. And this is, I'm not trying to be like, okay, let's, start talking about draft prospects. I'm not trying to like completely shift focus from the NHL team when I say this, but it is still very, very exciting to see those players, be big names in tournaments and see the growth from within the organization. And obviously the ultimate goal is for that to take place at the NHL level, and that's what everyone is hoping for, and hopefully he can do that someday. But it's just really cool to see, new additions to the organization be highly regarded too. That's a great sign.
Yeah, and for the record, that 21 points in 24 games leads the team too.
Crazy.
So not only is he just crushing it, he's also the best player on the team as a defenseman too. So obviously there's a big question about transitioning to the NHL style ice because it's much smaller, if that game will translate. But right now we're enjoying this as it happens.
Absolutely we are.
Final thing, game preview. We got the Colorado Avalanche on Saturday.
This team is hilarious. This is the greatest show on ice, baby. This is just absolute. I'm taking the over. I'll tell you right now. Not advice or anything, but I am going to FanDuel and I'm taking the over. The Avalanche score a lot. They're the top 10 in the league in goals scored a game. They are 29th in the league in goals against a game. They are 32nd in team save percentage. 3-2. They are last in the NHL in team save percentage. They are 31st in face-off percentage. They do not do any of the defense crap, and they're just going to outscore you. And they are talented enough to make that work more times than not. I think they're a game over 500 as it stands right now.
Yeah, Nathan McKinnon's got 39 points in 26 games, 35 points in 26 for Mikko Rantanen. Cal McCarr's got 32 points in 26. Casey Middlestat's got 18 and 26. Their top scorers just score a metric crap ton. But they have no goaltending. They are a really bizarre team. They just made a trade for Scott Wedgwood, kind of a lateral move. Now, Scott Wedgwood came in relief against the Buffalo Sabres the other day. They were down 4-0 and ended up winning 5-4 in regulation, which was insane. But Alexander Georgiev, who I think they sent back to Nashville in that trade, had an .867 save percentage. Eustace Noonan had a .872 save percentage. He got pulled in the game against Buffalo. This is a team that can copy and paste the conversation we had about the Ottawa Senators, just with a higher offensive ceiling.
Right.
This is a team that has a lot of offense, but no goaltending. The difference is Ottawa played better defensively than Colorado does, which goes to your point, the fact that Colorado just like outshoots and outscores their opponents to try and win hockey games. They're fourth? I think they're fourth in the league for Corsi fourth in the league for expected goals for, but it's just the goals against. They can't get a save to save their life, which naturally means ready to score one goal.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We're getting blanked for sure.
Mm-hmm. And their power play, again, another situation. Copy and paste from the Ottawa game. They have a top power play in the league. It's currently 8th, and their penalty kill, I think, is 28th. Which, by the way, the Red Wings' penalty kill, according to NHL.com, I don't know if this is up to date into today's game, but they are no longer dead last in the league.
Honestly, let's raise a banner. I'm down. I'll go to the game too. I'll buy a ticket for the banner raising ceremony for that. 31st in the NHL in penalty kill 2024-2025. Let's do it.
Going 5 for 5 brought their penalty kill percentage to 67.5, which takes them to 31st in the league, above the New York Islanders 66.7. So
incredible.
Not last in the penalty kill. Hang it in the LCA.
Hang it. Put it LCA right next banner. To Yzerman. Hang it right there.
Anyways, next time.
Anyways, next time.
Yeah, we'll recap a game against the Colorado Avalanche and hope we're not talking about 5th loss in a row.
We can hope. We ball, baby.
We ball, go Lions, same time, same place as your team every day.
Every day.